Welcome to another episode of the Undersong. My name is Andrea and I'm speaking to you directly from London, UK. And this is your weekly podcast where I give you some fun facts about my favorite songs. And, if I can be asked, I'll probably do a longer episode about something else music related. It's not the case this week. This week I'm going to analyze another track which probably has my favorite air drum filler of all time. Easy, right? I mean, the song is "If I Had a Gun" by Noel Gallagher, High Flying Birds, or Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. But this is my favorite air drum filler of all time, and I challenge you not to move your arms as you listen to this. Look. You did it, didn't you? You did it. I'm sure you did it. Okay, you did it. So If I Had a Gun by Noel Gallagher, or NG, The Chief, or if you ask the man himself, he'll probably say God, was released on December 26, 2011 as the third single of Noel's first solo album, Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. But the song was actually written while Oasis was still going on. You know, Oasis, that band he used to be part of. I think everybody knows that. But the song was written in Lima, Peru, allegedly. Nobody was there to witness it, but that's what the rumors say. During the band's South American tour in 2009. And I love that because I actually went to that tour. Like, if you don't know, I'm Brazilian and I used to live in Brazil at that time. And I went to the São Paulo gig in May 2009. Oh, good times. My hometown is like pretty far away from São Paulo, so whenever I wanted to go to a good gig, and the bands, when they go to Brazil, they only play either São Paulo or Rio, I had to get on a bus for 14 hours and travel to see my favorite bands. That was before I moved to the UK. But anyway, the song was written in May 2009. And then Noli G decided to test it out at a sound check, which some people say was in Chile. And I'm saying this because somebody actually recorded it from, like, how people sometimes queue a bit earlier and then you can hear the sound check. And then some people actually recorded Noel playing the first version of If I Had a Gun while still in Oasis. So yeah, Noel Gallagher actually came across this recording and he told Spin magazine, quotes, "I was out one night in London and somebody asked me, have you got a song called If I Had a Gun?" And I said, "You couldn't possibly fucking know that. He said, I was just listening to it on the internet. So I went on YouTube, and this is still Noel Gallagher, by the way. I went to YouTube, and there it was. It was recorded during Soundcheck on Oasis 2009 tour of South America, which is where I wrote the song. There was only about a minute of the audio, and while it didn't have any of the finished words, the basic structure was there. So people started writing their own words and finishing off the song and posting on YouTube. Those cheeky fuckers. Before I'd even finished writing the song, they were covering it. But it's flattering too, 250,000 people watched it, and I'm sure a lot more people have watched it ever since. But when confronted with the fact that a lot of his songs in the first album kind of have like this Oasis-y sound, Noel told Mojo, open quotes, when I played it to everyone, they said the same thing. It sounds like it's always been around. You played G minor to F sharp a billion times, and then one day it's like the first time you've ever played it. Noel also told NME that he wrote the song when the relationship with Leon was at its lowest, and he had sort of stopped traveling with the band, so he was sort of doing his own thing there. But actually it goes beyond that. The entire album, Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, was engineered by a fella called Paul Stacey, who has worked in several of the Oasis tracks between 1999 and 2008. So he engineered Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, for example, and Heathen Chemistry. He also played like instruments for a number of tracks, like he played bass on Gas Panic. He played keyboards on The Hind of Times, did the backing vocals for the My Generation cover, played the piano in Let There Be Love, and he even mixed some songs for Dig Out Your Soul as well.
Shoot a hole into the sun, and love would burn this city down for you. If I had the time, I'd stop the world and make you mine.
Now let's talk charts. The song peaked at number 95 in the UK singles chart, while another single from the same album, aka What a Life, it was just 2 positions above it. If you listen to enough episodes of this podcast, we'll learn to hate the UK singles chart, because I will always tell you who was number 1 at the time a great track was like on number 95 like today. And on that particular week, the number 1 track was Domino by Jessie J, and the number 2 track was a track by Flo Rida. So yeah, I don't think that Flo Rida and Jessie J was doing quite that well in Japan, because actually If I Had a Gun was much more successful in Japan. The song hit number 2 on the Japan Hot 100 chart, so there you go. Talking lyrics, Gallagher told The Sun that the inspirations for the song included love, hope, and finding your feet. So he said, open quotes, Oasis were a very macho rock band and you couldn't really sing songs about love. But I never shied away from writing those songs. They were just piling up. So for If I Had a Gun, I'd like the listener to think about the person they love the most. It could be your mom, girlfriend, or wife. I quite like the lyrics, and I think it's pretty much straightforward when you read the lyrics, what it is about. But I prefer the version that Noel's son came up with. So if you watch an interview he did with Graham Norton, which unfortunately I cannot play here because BBC would come after my ass, basically Noel said that his son likes to sing it as, if I had a gun, I'd shoot a hole into your bum. I like where his mind went there. So the video for this song is part of a trilogy which starts with If I Had a Gun, followed by Death of You and Me and aka What a Life. Even though those videos were not released in the same order, that's how you watch it to follow a story. So at the beginning with If I Had a Gun, Noel plays a priest who is officiating a wedding ceremony, and then like this man comes up on a horse and then he sort of like snaps up the bride, but then afterwards they go for a swim in the middle of the ceremony. Like, oh, don't you hate when that happens? You're like attending a wedding and then this guy comes up in a horse and it's like... But at the end of the video, Noel pulls up at the Last Chance Diner, which is the same diner featured in the beginning of the video for The Death of You and Me. And in the background, as he's walking in, you can hear a preview of the remixed version of If I Had a Gun done by Amorphous Androgynous. The name of the remix is actually Shoot a Hole into the Sun. Now, do you remember that? Because Noel had collaborated with the duo in 2011. When he was about to release his first album, he had like a press conference. This was in July 2011. And he announced that there was going to be 2 albums. There would be the High Flying Birds, and there would also be a separate album for the collaboration with Amorphous. But then, like, just over a year later, in August 2012, Noel said he would scrap the album completely, the album with Amorphous, because he wasn't happy with the mixes. That's what he kept saying at the time, and the only song of that collaboration that had been released at that point was the remix that we could hear in the Death of You Me video. But then 3 years later, so we are now in 2015, this is what Noel had to say about the whole Amorphous Androgynous controversy.
It got finished. The album got finished. I spent a lot of time working on it, but the way that they work was to get me in and play all day, and then they would take it away. And then the next thing you hear, you just go, oh, well, that's not what I was thinking. Do you know what I mean? And it became apparent to me that they weren't making a record for me. I was making a record for them. Yeah. And if anybody who does know me, that's not going to fucking work. Well, there is no bootleg because I own the master and I destroyed it.
Really?
Yeah. My manager's not even heard it. I wouldn't play it to them. It was so underwhelming to me that I just couldn't, I've never played it to anybody.
So this is what he said to Noisy in an interview in 2015. But then what happened is the duo obviously were so pissed off by the way that he was rebutting all these rumours, and by the way he was explaining why the album wasn't released in the end. And then one half of the duo, a guy called Gary Cobain, he spoke to The Guardian, and he actually wrote like a giant article about this whole situation, and you can tell like how mad the guy is. He firstly explains what Noel said about having to play for hours on end. So he said, open quotes, "Actually, all that happened was I thought he'd like to experiment with an idea we had, but after 30 minutes he was lost and angry that we weren't telling him exactly what to do. We assumed he would want to let loose." And then he gets even more bitter. Like, I really recommend you go and read this article. He says he'd spent all this money and time, and that he invested in 87 guitars and 200 pedals. And then he said that he had to constantly work around Noel's limitations. Like, so harsh. While they were in studio together. Well, for better or for worse, 2 songs which were a result of this collaboration did end up in Noel's second album, Chasing Yesterday, which are The Mexican and The Right Stuff, which is my favourite song of that album. According to Gary, the guy from Amorphous Androgynous, they still talk, but he has been asked, and I open quotes here, he has been asked about our album a lot, and his rebuttal of it is a disgrace. It's doing me a lot of damage. He became too afraid to be weird. But still, when Noel is ready to collaborate, I'm here. And they do seem to be on better terms these days, because more recently, in 2018, Noel backtracked on that claim that the masters were destroyed. And then he said that he actually, well, in his words, he said he found them in a sock drawer. But can you believe that? Like, he literally finding masters in a sock drawer? I don't think so. But anyway, he found it somewhere, or it was just his way of saying, like, okay, like, I said that, but the masters were not destroyed. And then he goes on to say that he might revisit these songs again one day, that he might want to keep a bit of distance for now, but he does say that Shoot a Hole into the Sun, which is the remix for If I Had a Gun, is fucking great. I wish I could play it for you because it's a really good remix. It's a 7-minute track. It's amazing. So do go on YouTube or Spotify and have a listen. But one thing that I can maybe get away with is showing you Noel Gallagher explaining how he has 3 hairs for each follicle. And that's how I'm going to leave you guys. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. I'll see you next week again. Thank you. Bye. See you later.
I did an emergency haircut in LA a few weeks back by this guy.
Why was it an emergency?
Because I'd been on tour for 5 weeks and it was insane.
Oh, right. I thought you got like chewing gum.
No, I looked like an Aborigine, and this guy turned out, his name was Ramon, but I found it amusing because he was not in any way Latino. He was Korean.
Right.
Ramon, you know. And what's my point? My point is he was staggered by my hair. I've got 3 hairs growing out of every hole as opposed to 1.
What? Every follicle?
Every follicle has got three. So my hair is 3 times better than yours and everybody else is in this room. He's got long hair, but the guy with the long hair is showing off. It's girth that matters, it's not length. Anyone can grow the fucking hair long.
Hang on, is that like normal
Gandalf?
to have 3
Gandalf
hairs?
from the Lord of the Rings, he had fucking long hair, right? But it was like a fucking shredded dishcloth.
I don't want
Whereas
to
this
ruin, but that was an actor with a wig.
doesn't matter.
Hang on,
This
are you saying that each
is-
follicle's got 3 hairs growing out? Let me see.
Yeah.
I'll be able to see this. Go look up so I can see a follicle.
Well,
there.
you have to wear your fucking. You won't be able to see it
You
without your
have
glasses.
not. You've got
I
1
have.
hair growing out of each follicle.
I've got 3 hairs growing out of each follicle, and not many people have that. Only great people have that.